I
But
know.
I just wanted to ask the question, like, do you guys have any like top games for 2024 or your favorite games of 2024? It doesn't have to be anything new, but it could be something that you just playing or played or that you liked.
Well,
But what is
I,
your favorite game or fighting game of 2024?
there are no fighting games that I've played. I do still need to give Diesel Legacy like a good run. Like I bought it, I
Mm.
haven't like sat down and played it, but this year has really just been games with the boys, man. Like aside from rivals, Ravens Watch is probably my number one. Like, we've been
Oh
playing
yeah,
the hell out of that game.
I forgot
So
about that game.
yeah, Ravens Watch and Windblown. But me, Tyrell, Chris, and uh, Ryan just recently jumped in, and Darius. We've been playing that game like hell, dude. And they're actually having their expansion come up in the next couple of weeks. So super excited for that. That game has been a treat, to say the least. It's been a lot of fun. And it's
Like,
been just as frustrating at sometimes too, but it's a good kind of frustrating.
yeah, like yeah, I watched you, Chris, and D Star play it a little while back, and it did look cool.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
gonna lie.
it's a nice spin on like fairy tales, like a dark twist. And favorite character is Sun Wukong. Yeah, he's the fighting game character where you got to parry everything and you do damage, your combos, and all that stuff. Team competition again, really important here because if you die, everyone dies, and it's a lot of fun, dude. Like this is another game I'd say we should play together because it's
Yeah, I remember you guys were telling me about that. It kind of looked like Hades a little bit, and I played
yeah,
Hades. I played and beat Hades, and I really fell in love with that game. So if it's anything like that, then I'm pretty sure that I'll love it.
yeah. It's very I'd say it's very similar. It's roguelike element. Every playthrough is different. You kind of have to build up a proper loadout each time as you play. And Windblown is very similar. Like me and Chris mostly been playing that, only us two, but it's a little bit different since that's three players, not four players. But it's just as fun. Very fast paced, very pretty to look at, very colorful, like Hades. It's nice. It feels like a game that came out on sixth gen. That's what it feels like to me. That's why I enjoy it so much, or them so much. But as far as fighting games, not throwing any shade to Diesel Legacy. I haven't played it yet. I haven't given it a fair shot. But as far as that, there are no fighting games for me. All fighting games are deceased, as far as I'm concerned. Been playing for Tekken 6. That's been fun. Oh, but Herbert, I think your voice, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. I was talking and muted. But Diesel Legacy, yeah, I definitely have the demo, and I kind of want to put my hands on it a little bit. I did go to practice mode a little bit and messed around with it, and it feels good to play.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have to definitely get on that. But what about you, Cross? Favorite game of last year that you played?
I actually had a few good games that I played, um, you know, last year that I thought were pretty fun. So I actually this year for me, or last year I should say, last year for me when it comes to gaming was pretty solid. At the end of the year, even though this game didn't come out last year, I've been playing the dog shit out of fucking Baldur's Gate 3. That game is legitimately one of the best games. Like it is legitimately like a legendary game. It is very, very, very good. Um, very good. and the amount of the quality of content that's in the game, base, like just base game, it's like I feel like that game is bigger than Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 put together easily.
Really?
Yeah, of course it is. Like, I don't even know why I'm saying I think it is. It definitely is. Like the amount of things you can do, not just like content in the sense of like the amount of missions or something like that. The way you can go about doing any particular thing is just crazy. I saw one guy steal like it's the fact that they have like an option for things that you wouldn't even think is a thing. Like this guy, I watched this clip of this guy who stole something from this character and then went to talk to them and say, "Hey, I want to make a deal for that item." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, it's gonna cost this much. Okay, I'll buy it." And then the guy goes, "It's like, wait, where is it?" And then you can show it to him. Like, yeah, I stole it.
That's so dope.
And he's like
Really?
he's like, "What the fuck? You stole that? Then why did you talk to me about this?"
Yeah,
It's like the fact that there's so much stuff like that in the game where you're like, "I never would have thought to do that."
yeah,
Like there's characters in the game where you're like, they're recruitable, and then the game is so smart. It tricks you all of the time. All of the time. You'll be like, yeah, I'm just walking down here. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, um, you just walked into a fucking trap and you didn't even notice because you weren't paying attention to your surroundings. And it wasn't like hidden, it was like right there. Like right there on the floor or some shit or right around you, and you're just like, so it makes you so immersed because everything matters. How you talk to people matters. How you What you say to a character matters because someone else in your party might be listening. So if you don't want them to fucking know, you don't need to have them with you. It's like everything matters. Stuff that you would normally think doesn't matter because it's a video game, you will be surprised. You'll be like, wait, what the fuck? How do you know about that? You know? Or you will assume certain things because it's a video game, like, oh, I talked to this person and this person was in my party. So that means that, like, this person in my party also talked to this person, even though they never did, but they never talked. So they don't have a rapport or a relation or anything. So you can do shit like, you could talk to a character and then like fuck up the dialogue. They don't like you or some shit. And then you could be like, okay, but I know he likes elves. Hey, Shadowheart, you go over there and fucking talk to him. He'll be completely different. He'll be acting different. Oh, hey, what's up? Nice to her. Fucking an asshole to you. And you're like, wow, I never thought about that. It be I haven't said that. I've said that so many times playing Baldur's Gate 3. Wow, I didn't think that I could do that. Wow, I didn't think I would be able to go about it that way. Oh wow, like I guess I could have did that. Or oh man, damn, I could have did this. And there's so many different ways of doing shit that, dude, I have like probably like 100 different like saves, and I'm just thinking like, I don't even know why I saved this much because I'm never going back and doing like, because I'll be like, all right, I need to save because I don't know if I really want to go about it this way. Then
yeah,
I'll do it, and it doesn't even work the way I thought it was going to work. It does it in this completely different way, and I'm like, well, I want to see the variation of what happened. It ain't like just a resolution. It's like, oh, you opened up this whole branch of this other part of the story, and
yeah,
this part of the story is closed off. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going down this branch of shit now. I thought that was
yeah,
just gonna be the end of something. Like, like it's crazy how you can just play that game. Like, you
yeah,
can be on the you can there's just so many different ways of doing shit. It's just insane. So I'm like, um, wow, amazing game.
yeah.
Wow, dude. So
So I haven't heard anything bad about Baldur's Gate. Like Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sorry. I
yeah.
haven't heard anything bad about Baldur's Gate at all. I'd be waiting to hear bad shit. I'd be like, something bad gonna happen about this game? Like, no. People love the game. Like you said, you can do a lot of stuff that's outside of the box than what you can normally do in games.
It
Um,
it's
and-
more than that. It's not
Mhm.
even just like the standard outside of the box. It's like they put you in a box and then it's like you can play in that box if you want to, but it's like you do say like most games where they say outside the box, it's like one thing you can do outside the box, and it's like haha, but actually you're just in a bigger box. No, this game is literally like, oh, you were playing in a box this entire time. you, what?
You don't
You
have to
know
play.
there's a world that exists out here, and you were in a box the entire time. That's crazy. And then they punish you for being in the box.
That's
What
crazy.
the fuck? Like there's shit being thrown at me in angles that I can't handle. And
Yeah,
it's like,
it
well, get out
is.
the box, dude.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. It's like they take you outside the box, like
Well,
like
now
randomly, like you
they'll
do
keep you
something
in the
randomly,
box to
like
whoop your ass from outside the box. More like, yeah, I'm standing on this rooftop behind this chimney, bro, throwing shit at you. And you walked into this village right through the front gate, and we all knew that that's where you was gonna come
yeah,
because that's where you think you gotta go, but you don't gotta do that. You could be like, all right, I'm gonna go around the back. Oh, there's a gate right here. I'm gonna just jump over the fucking gate. Just jump over the motherfucker. Oh, it's locked. Well, because you'll think, oh, lock gate, I have to have the key, or I have to do a lock pick, or you can just jump over the shit, or you can go get some boxes. There's some boxes. Let's just hop over this shit. It's just a fucking stupid gate, and then it's like, all right, let's get our motherfuckers on top of the fucking house. Push this dumb asshole off the fucking house, idiot. Get off the fucking house. Now we're shooting all you idiots from the top of the house. It's
yeah,
like it's awesome. There are times where you're like, there are so many times where I'm like, man, I kind of want to do the dialogue for like this. I kind of do want to go through the front door because I want to see what the characters are gonna say.
yeah,
But then you're like, wait, they're just stupid goblins. They're not gonna say anything but "R, I'm gonna kill you" or something because they're dumb and they always attack. There's no such thing as a good goblin. Okay, cool. Fuck talking to these guys. I'm just gonna shoot them. Like, just shoot these guys, because they always have something set up to fuck you. So it's like, I'm not about to talk to these idiots. I've talked to enough goblins. Like, die, dude. Like, y'all are just dead. Y'all always
yeah.
put me in these fucked up situations. So that game
So
is sick.
well, let me ask this. So out of 10, what would you rate Baldur's Gate 3?
10.
10.
Easy. It's like easy. There is literally no issue with the game. Like, I can't think of one because the game is okay. If I had to say one thing that is, I wouldn't call it a problem, but like I could see someone being like, what do you call it? Pushed away from not playing
Mm,
the game.
yeah,
You really need to learn the rules of Dungeons and Dragons, like how everything works, how taking turns work, how
yeah. Don't you
like
like
all,
roll a dice or something to get certain
yeah,
type
but there's
of
different types of die and there's different types of rolls and then how your like stats modify your roll. So for example, like when I was playing the game, through the majority of the game, I didn't understand how a lot of this shit worked. So I was getting my ass beat, and had to figure out alternate ways to play the game because I didn't understand how it was working. Right? I think someone else would just quit. But once I understood how things worked, it was like I could start actually like understanding what the stats I was looking at. So, for example, like in a normal RPG, when you look at someone's, let's say, defense number or whatever, they show you something like that. You would
yeah,
think that what that does is that if they get hit, it would just like do less damage or something, right? But that's not how that works in Baldur's Gate. In Baldur's Gate, characters are given what's called an armor class, and that armor class is basically just a number. And so let's say that number is 10, right? So that means that you have to roll at least a 10 in order to hit them. And if you roll anything that's below a 10, you will miss. And so what that means is that you're like, okay, well, I have to find out what like modifier that my character uses to deal damage. Is it strength? Is it dexterity? Is it wisdom? Is it intelligence? Like for magic users, like which one is it? And then once you figure that out, mine was dexterity because I was playing an elf archer or a ranger. So I was like, okay, it's dexterity. So that means I need to make sure that like I give myself the best opportunity to roll a high number. So that means you want to roll a die that isn't a 20-sided die. You want to try to roll like a die that is like a lower number die because it's going to have like a multiplier uh, applied to it, and you have a higher chance of getting a higher number, and you can do things that increase like your chances. So if I shoot from high ground within my range, it adds like, so whatever I roll, let's say I would roll a 6, right? That would normally be under 10, but if I'm above ground, then I gain advantage. And what advantage does is that it rolls the dice twice and it chooses the highest number.
Okay.
And then whatever modifiers I have, so let's say if I have like a dexterity modifier, and let's just say my dexterity modifier adds like a +4, so now that 6 becomes a 10, so that means I'll hit them. But then if I have advantage, may roll a 6 and then I roll like a 19, so it's going to choose the 19. It's not going to choose the 6. And
Okay.
the amount of damage that you do more damage the higher you roll. So if I roll a 10, I do the minimum amount of damage that I would do. But if I roll a 20, I do the maximum amount of damage that I'm going to do. So when you look at your weapon, it'll actually show that. It'll show the minimum damage that this weapon can do and the highest damage that that weapon can do. So, like, when you combine all this stuff together, then you start understanding how to actually hit shit. Because you're like, okay, this archer, I'm shooting from low ground. I'm at disadvantage. And disadvantage is the opposite of advantage. It rolls 2 dice and it chooses the lowest number always out of the 2 rolls. So,
Oh, okay.
you really don't want that. Disadvantage fucking sucks. So, it's like, you
Yeah,
want them, and then all the same rules that apply to you apply to them.
okay.
So
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
them to be at
I
disadvantage. You
like
want
games. I like games like that where the rules that apply to you apply to them too, so you can kind of manipulate the game if you know the rules of how
right.
things play out.
Exactly. And so like examining like your enemies before you get into battle or even during battle is really really important because like you'll look and you'll be like, okay, they have immunity to poison, this, and they have resistance to this and this. But then if you will click on it, you'll say, well, what's the source of their immunity? Sometimes they have natural immunity, meaning that that's just their shit. Like, but sometimes their immunity is linked to something else. Like they only have immunity because they have a weapon equipped that allows them to be like to be immune to slashing attacks. So then you can disarm them. You can say, okay, well, if I can get Karlak to go over there and disarm them, then he no longer has slashing immunity. Then I can kill him. And then I can pick up his shit too. Give me that, you know, like keep his shit back up. But they can do the same shit to you. So you have to be careful. Like it ain't just like, well, I can just go fuck them up. They can fuck you up too. And so you have to really be like ready. Like you have to understand what enemy type you're. Every battle in Baldur's Gate cannot be taken light. There's no battle in Baldur's Gate that can't be taken lightly unless you already played the game before. You know exactly how it's coming up. Like unless you already know and you built your characters in a way where they are specifically gonna fuck these guys up. It's like when you're first playing the game, there's every battle is fucking really important because you could just get killed so easily. Like, and everything matters. That I guess so if I had to say like one like negative, they don't tell you any of this shit. All this shit I just told you, like how to all that, they don't say that at all. They don't teach you about armor classes. They don't teach you about your stat modifiers. They don't teach you about all the different like because based on what you choose, like strength, dexterity, or whatever, you get all these other different like skills that are outside of battle. They're things that like help you in dialogue or like help you with like lock picking or something, or help you with like negotiating with people. There are other stuff that is not in battle, you know, and some of that stuff is like really, really good. Like, persuasion and fucking intimidation and all this other stuff. It's like all this stuff, like it affects heavily what you can do in the game and what becomes available. Some things you can't even, like, for example, there's a skill you get if you have high intelligence or high wisdom called perception, and it allows you to be able to see things in the environment that are normally hidden. They're not actually hidden. Well, a lot of times they're not like hidden where they're just invisible or something, but like they just won't stand out. But then, like, if your character has perception, it'll like a sound will play and they'll be like, there's a button on the wall over there,
Yeah.
or something like that, right? And but in some situations, sometimes if their perception stat is really high, they can see shit like that is invisible. They'll be like, the this area is not what it seems. Like
Oh,
this
okay,
is
okay.
this is not what we're looking at is not real or whatever. And like, and you can see when the characters roll their perception check and fail, like,
Yeah.
because like every character will get a perception roll when there's something like that that could happen. So it's really interesting when your characters walk into a room and they fail a perception check. You're like, uh-oh. You're like,
So the
what the
the
fuck?
so the enemies can fail their roles too, right?
Yeah, of course. Like the
Mhm.
whole game is roles. So it's like the same apply, all that armor class shit applies to you. So obviously you want a high armor class. Like I want my armor class to be fucking 25 so that you gotta roll a motherfucking 25 even to hit me. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, so they'll try to do things that like make it so that they don't have to roll a 25 or they have advantage, or so you'll see them trying to position and do shit, and you have to be able to understand like what if Karlak has a armor class of 25 and I got her out there front and center, you know, ready to fuck them up. Well, they don't want to just run up to her and attack her. That's not what they're gonna do. They're going to turn invisible. They're gonna throw a fucking spear at her and then turn invisible. That's what they're gonna do. Because they're gonna be like, okay, well, this may hit her, this may not, but I'm gonna you'll never hit me because I don't care if I don't care. Like I can
Yeah.
always just keep turning invisible, and that's really annoying because you're like, man, this squishy ass enemy, I could just kill them if my character could see them. Like,
Yeah.
but they just turn invisible, hit me, and then turn back invisible again. So you're like, I gotta find a way. And if your character doesn't have there's ways to like see invisibility, but if you don't have that, you have to come up with creative ways to trick them out of being out of invisible. Like this one boss fight I was just in, like what I did was that I had Karlak up front, but they weren't attacking Karlak. They would try to go and attack like my healers. Well, one of my healers had the spell called Sanctuary, which makes it to where you can't target her with anything, but she can't do any damage. If she does damage, then Sanctuary falls off. So it's like I want to keep her alive because she's my healer. So I was like, okay, I need to keep her alive. So then they would go to like my other like character, right? Because they just did not want to deal with Karlak. Because even if you walk around Karlak, she has this thing called opportunity of attack, where if you get
Yeah.
too close to her, she'll just swing on you. So
That's
it's
crazy.
like they're like, okay, I'm just gonna walk around her and get to this other character. So what I did was I put a spider trap on the fucking ground. They're invisible, so I don't know where they are, but I know they want to get to me. And that character has boots on to where I can walk over spider webs and not get in webs. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't care that this trap is here. Like I can
Yeah.
walk, but when you walk in this shit, you're gonna get stuck and it's gonna reveal your location. And then
Okay.
you can
That's smart.
actually attack invisible enemies if you know where they are.
What?
Like,
So you can just swing in a general direction. If they over there, you're gonna get them.
yeah, if you swing and they would have gotten hit, then you hit them.
Yeah.
So what you can do also is like if I know you're in this general area and I have a big ass fireball, I'm just gonna throw the fucking fireball down. That's another reason why they don't want to be around Carla because she has this move called Giant Slam, where it's just a big ass shockwave. She's just blam and then boom, you know, if you're
Run
around
around,
her,
get got.
yeah, you just get got. So they just run away from her. So this is like
Yeah,
some of the smartest fucking NPCs ever. You'll
yeah,
be thinking, "Oh, I got these guys, they're so dead. And they just won't do the things that you'd be like, fuck, why are
yeah,
they doing that? Why are they running all the way over there and getting on top of a fucking building?
yeah.
Like, so
That's
like
that's awesome, dude. That's super awesome.
yeah.
Now, do you have any other favorite games for 2024?
Yeah, there's this horror game called Hollow Body by an indie dev.
Hollow Body.
Yeah, it's
I think
like
I remember you telling me about that.
yeah, it's kind of like Silent Hill 2 kind of like inspired type of game, but it's like it has like a Blade Runner aesthetic to it, and it's really cool. Like the story is good, the game mind fucks you in so many different ways. It's like it's really good. I don't want to like spoil too much of it or whatever, but yeah, the game is fucking awesome. Um, so yeah, I really loved that game. I thought it was like before I played Baldur's Gate, that was my game of the year. I was like, this
Really?
game is fucking awesome. Yeah, because it's just great. Like it made me sad that there's not a physical version of the game. I was like, I want to have this on my shelf. This game is fucking awesome.
It
Like
definitely looks dope. From what I've seen, it's like it looks like Resident Evil a little bit.
it's like it's more like Silent Hill
Oh,
than
okay.
Resident Evil. Because like in Resident Evil, that game, I mean, both games are like a survival horror, but Resident Evil is more about like the man, I gotta survive through this shit because I don't got a lot of resources, X, Y, and Z, right? Whereas
Mhm.
like Silent Hill is more about the unknown. You go into situations and the game is doing
The
things
hell
to
is
you that
that?
doesn't make any sense. You're
Yeah, I
like,
see. Looking at this trailer, that's a lot of stuff that don't make sense. From
yeah,
what I'm
you're
seeing.
like, I walked in this room and now I'm in this room. You're like, huh? And like you don't and when you combine that with I don't want to be in this fucking room. Why am I here? It doesn't make any sense at first. So it's like no, like the game it's more like psychological horror. I mean, it's still survival horror, but it's psychological horror. They're fucking with you the entire game. Like Tormented Souls is more like Resident Evil. Like that's like Resident Evil with like Alone in the Dark kind of mixed in with
Yeah.
it. Like, and that's a great game too. But that game, yeah, that I played that alone, when it came out or whatever. But yeah, if I had to say like two games that were just like really big standouts for me, it's those two. Like you know, yeah.
Okay. Now, what would you give Hollow Body from 1 to 10?
If I had to like give it a score, um, probably like an 8 because the only issues with the game is that there are a few. It's a bit buggy, um, in ways that it shouldn't be. In ways I thought they were fucking with me at first, but then I realized it was a bug, and that really annoyed me because I was like, it's cool in one way and it's fucking annoying in another because like like the game games like this they have like a controlled camera, like they have a fixed camera, and so like that's cool, but there's a bug in this game where like it's certain like I hope they probably fixed it by now, but there's sometimes bugs that happen where like how like when you're walking in one area and then you kind of like get to another part of the room and the camera angle switches.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of like a bug in the game where when you like go to one area and the camera angle switches, but then you quickly walk back to the prior area, the camera angle changes back to the prior angle, but you're still in the other part of the room. So you can't see anything. You can't see your character because the way the camera angle is made for when you're in that part of the room, not when you're in this part of the room. And trying to get it to switch back is very hard because it depends on where your character is and you can't see them. And then when you combine that with enemies are in the room or it's a new area and you don't know where the fuck everything is, it's a bit kind of like stressful. You're like, fuck, dude, like
Yeah,
what the hell?
not in a good way.
Yeah, not in a good
Yeah.
way. Because at first you're like, am I being fucked with? And then it's like, no, that was a bug. It's like
Hey.
that's fucking annoying. But it
Yeah.
didn't happen often enough to be like always the case. But it did happen like twice in my playthrough. It happened one time where there was a boss. Literally a boss came out of a fucking closet and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but I am getting the fuck. And then in that same thing, they did have a thing where they fuck with you. And so like
It's
I'm
like
like,
I don't know what's what.
yes, that's what got me like that. I was like, what just happened? Like, I barely survived. I was like, what just happened right there? What was I'm like, I'm not going back in that fucking apartment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the fuck just happened right there. That I'm not going back in there. So I had to get some fucking courage before I walked back in there. Because I of
Yeah.
course you gotta go back in there. So I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, fuck. But
So
that yeah, probably like an 8 or a 9.
8 or 9. Okay.
Yeah.
So Josh, I didn't ask you, but Ravens Watch, what would you give that game? Like 1 out of 10.
I'd probably do the same, about an 8 or 9. The things that kind of ruin it are like sometimes game instability, sometimes it lags when it shouldn't, or there's like random disconnections. Like there was one patch that when they updated it, and we were struggling for like a good day or two just trying to play it. And I guess we just kind of have to wait for it to like stabilize or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't happen enough for us to be like, oh, this game is dog shit now. They ruined it. But it works for the most part. But sometimes when it just stops working, like we'll have like the perfect flawless run. We're getting all the best rolls. My son is almost Super Saiyan. He's shooting the Kamehameha wave. I got the best parry. Got the 1-inch punch. Game freezes or disconnects. I'm just like fucking. Oh, and I'm never gonna get a run this good ever again. Now I'm paranoid because like when we start doing too well, I'm just preparing for the worst.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sucks.
But like I said, it doesn't happen enough. It seems like it does because it hurts so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we recently got Tyrell through nightmare difficulty, which is the highest difficulty. And man, we talking like we like celebrating. We almost went out and got a beer. So finally got Tyrell because like me and Chris played the most, so we got the most hours in it. And now that we got Tyrell through nightmare mode, it's like all right, now we got to get Ryan through it. Now we got to get Darius through it. It's really rewarding. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Okay. Um, for me, it's 100% the Messenger, man. Messenger. I know it came out like a couple of years ago, but I had the liberty of playing it this year, and oh my god. So this is kind of like a throwback to like the old Ninja Gaiden games and Shinobi games
Mhm.
on the older consoles. And man, this game, it's like there are some games that kind of bring you back to your childhood, but this game kind of like exceeded what I thought it was gonna be. And just like the little things that they do to kind of change up the whole ninja slash jumping, platformer type of thing is like crazy. It's like you go through these little portals, right, where you can go to the past or you can go to the future, and depending on what you do in the past will affect the future. Like I don't know if you guys can see my screen that I have here,
Yeah.
but so like on this stage, there's like pockets where you're in the past and then you go outside the pocket and you go into the future, and it's like so dope of a game. The story is stupid, but the platforming is like, oh my god, it's just one of the best games that I played in a long, long time.
It looks really cool.
It
I think Chris told me about another game. It's Cyber Ninja or something. It's very similar to this, and it's got that old school like Shinobi feel. But it's cool to see like such an old format like that be so updated with cool like aspects like this, like going through time or like how tight the gameplay is. Because like
yeah,
when I was watching you playing it, I was like, oh man, I can't believe you managed
bro,
to pull off that super tight just frame three jump over.
bro. I was dying so good in this game. I was dying a lot. Like, especially on this part here. Like, dude, I was like, what in the world? How do I get past this? And games are like so easy now that you don't expect them to be hard in some instances. And
Like,
I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Oh, but yeah, this is probably like my favorite game.
oh, man, that dude was like right on your ass.
Man, like bro, like
What, you weren't already running? Well,
bro, man, I'm telling you, like, man, they like the indie game scene is like it's been blowing my mind. So kind of like you guys kind of got me into like PC gaming. So I've been kind of going ham on Steam, and like I was surprised to just find these games where like they just have so much charm, so much uniqueness to them, and
yeah,
I'm just happy I found this game. Really,
yeah.
'cause I love this type of stuff.
And that's one of the things. Like I think we talked to Tevin about it too. It's like a lot of the it's really easy to kind of like doom scroll on games like, oh yeah, gaming is shit, gaming is dead, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, it's only dead for people who are too lazy to like find the games that they want to play. And
Hmm.
that's kind of how it was like, with Ravens Watch, Chris, like he's been like putting me on a lot of really good games. Like Windblown, he found that game, and Windblown is it's another that and Risk of Rain too. Like games I normally wouldn't. I like how it's over. Like
You toe up, man.
you would
You
miss
toe
games
up.
like this because of how much time or attention these major releases get. And yeah, it's like, yeah, that's on you, man. You can't let the AAA dominate the conversation with gaming because you'd be convinced like, oh yeah, gaming sucks. There's nothing good to play. You miss The Messenger, Ravens Watch, or Risk of Rain, or all these Cyber Shadow. That's the other ninja game Chris was saying you should probably check out. It's just like uh, old school Ninja Gaiden or
Hmm.
Shinobi. Yeah, and it's like most of the games I have the most fun playing. Like I always categorize them as like these could have came out of 6th gen because that's the most fun I ever had playing games in 6th gen. It was the most consistent fun. There were no bad games in 6th gen. And now that gaming is so huge, you kind of have to focus your attention on those types of games to where it's like, yeah, you could have a good time in this horrible time of gaming
Yeah.
without being so like black pilled on